Hi everybody, this is Neil Allen, the comic creator behind the series Zatswan Multiversal Guardian, which you can purchase on Amazon.com. I'll leave a link to the ebook version, and the paperback version should be coming out very soon, within a matter of days. I'm going to be getting the proofs for that just to look over real quick and then approve it for sale if everything's smooth. And if it's not, I'll make whatever necessary corrections I need to make. But I'm very confident everything will work out smoothly. And then that'll be available for sale within a matter of days. So look forward to that. And so I got a chance to look at Green Lantern Corps number 2, from Morgan Hampton and Jeremy Adams. I got an opportunity to take a look at the comic. And this comic is notable for bringing in the Green Lantern and Hawkgirl romance from the popular Justice League cartoon shows into the comics, or at least it's looking like it's going to. I made some videos about this, addressing some of the pushback that it's gotten from some fans, and I encourage you to go check those videos out. Thus far, I've made 2 of them. So, considering that this is a pretty interesting topic, I decided to take a look at this comic after having not read a Green Lantern comic in a long time. I haven't really been a big Green Lantern fan for a while. Now, the introduction of this aspect of the popular cartoons into these comics is kind of what piqued my interest, because this particular relationship between Hawkgirl and Jon Stewart has been a thing that's been popular with fans of the cartoon shows, of which there are many of those people, but the comic creators have always had some kind of, no pun intended, prejudice against it, to where it's like being completely off the table. And I'm going to address some of those thoughts. So, to give you a broad, just a general idea of my thoughts of this comic, I thought it was a good comic, not completely perfect. There were some things I had a problem with just from a craft issue that were a bit niggling. Um, but I think that this is a good comic, and I really have to tip my hat to Morgan Hampton or Jeremy Adams, whoever is responsible for doing this. I think it was kind of both of them, I suspect, but I really don't know. Um, what I would really congratulate them for doing is that reading this comic was really reminiscent, believe it or not, of watching cartoon shows, both the Justice League cartoon show and also Green Lantern, the animated series cartoon, the cartoon show. And it seems to be taking notable aspects from those two things that fans really liked. For example, like Hal Jordan, fans I know will say the Green Lantern, the animated series cartoon, is like this great, maybe the best depiction of Hal Jordan to some of those people. And I think that's fine, but typically, like outside of that group, whenever that show is kind of brought up, and maybe it's just what I have seen, like I don't know if this is like generally the case, or is it just the case with like things that I just have seen myself. But what people seem to really like about that show was Aya and Razor, the 2 original characters from the cartoon show. And I understand that that does make sense, because being original characters, the creators were able to do what they really wanted to with them and tell a daring story with them that, they weren't quite as able to do with characters like Hal Jordan, because there are expectations for the Hal Jordan character. He's supposed to be on a general track. So with Aya and Razor, the sky was kind of the limit, and that's actually why the Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl relationship was so successful too. Interestingly, because the creators were able to do what they wanted because the expectations for those characters were lower than for other members of the Justice League. Um, but more, yeah, like the creators, did their own thing. And interestingly, this is what makes the big difference. It's not just that the creators did their own thing, it's that they did their own thing and it was really, really good. Like it was, to me, like the characterization, the depth that Green Lantern and Hawkgirl had on Justice League was better than the majority of the characters on the show. That's my opinion, though. Obviously, I watch for and appreciate what I watch for, and other people can appreciate completely different things. And that was the cool thing about the Justice League cartoon shows. There was so much for different people to see and to like. So even if you weren't into Green Lantern and Hawkgirl, and there were people who weren't, you still had other stuff like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. Your kind of typical, more typical DC stuff and more typical portrayals of those characters. There was a lot to like. So what I really tip my hat to these creators for is actually taking those loved elements from the cartoon shows and putting them into the comics, because let me tell you, so that is largely what I feel has driven these superhero comics and their business into the gutter. Into the gutter. Like, I don't exactly know where it's at now, but I do know it's on the comic book industry for Marvel and DC, the superhero stuff. It's been on a downward trajectory for like 30 something years now. And we're at the point now where it's just the pits. Like, hardly anybody reads these things anymore. It doesn't have to be that way, but I'm of a opinion that one of the big reasons why it is this way is because these comics do not appeal to a lot of the fans of these characters and these franchises. They appeal to that small niche of fans that's like really into their comics. I know that sounds really weird. Like, shouldn't you appeal to the people who are really into the comics? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know. But the thing about it is, when people see these characters on TV or streaming and they really love these characters and they love what they see, to then have nothing for them to turn to in the actual literature is, it boggles the mind to have like conflicting um ideas of these characters in the literature versus what people are seeing in streaming. It's baffling to me that happens the way that it does, and it does happen. It happened to me, like when I was a fan of the Justice League cartoons, and I tried to read these like comics that, they were based off of. I thought I would be getting more of what I liked, and I love the medium of comics, so I'm like, yeah, let's read this. But when I turn to those comics, it is something completely conflicting than what I came to love. And I know that the problem isn't as basic as it is just make it like the cartoon show. Um, there are a lot of factors to consider. I know just getting that mechanism to work is more difficult than it may seem in some cases. Uh, However, and I don't think that you should bring over everything from the cartoons, because honestly, every depiction of a character, they don't all carry the same weight. They honestly don't. Some depictions of Superman are more relevant and loved than others. But when something is really loved, when fans really like it, when it's really defining for certain characters, then that, and people really respond well to it, and people are going to want more material of that thing, at the very least that should be strongly considered into bringing over into the comics, I think. And John Stewart, the Green Lantern, has benefited from his appearances in cartoon shows. not as much as he should have, honestly, but it has done him well. And interestingly, there's one particular thing about him that these like writers never wanted to bring over, or these writers and editors. I've actually heard that it was legit off the table. Like writers have commented that I've read, like they won't let you do that, and that is his relationship with Hawkgirl. Like that is the thing that they would never want to bring over. Um, and when something is that defining for characters, not only for Green Lantern, the John Stewart version, but also for Hawkgirl, you should really bring that over. People are going to want more content with it. And, you know, it was a big hit, and people really loved that relationship. Now, I will go over into some of the broad reasons why that was never brought over. And that is essentially because a lot of these comic fans are going to hate on that relationship for varying reasons. Um, some being comic book their ideas of comic book accuracy. And I say their ideas because they're not consistent. Like some things are okay to be inaccurate, but other things aren't. Or it's okay for some things to be inaccurate and not for other things. Then there's the aspect of racism, which you know is a thing. And then there's not just necessarily the aspect of racism, but something kind of, I hesitate to say related, but maybe somewhat related. And that is that for the demographic that reads that stuff, that's probably just not something they're going to be into. So, you know, when you have a lot of these, you know, like white guy readers who, you know, they like their idea of what things were 40, 50, 30 years ago, and that's just what they come to expect from these comics. What's in it for what is there for them with Hot Girl and John Stewart? And when I say like these white guy readers, I'm not talking, there's nothing wrong with being that. It's just who you're putting this in front of, you know. What's there for them? First, for numerous things. First of all, being who they are, there's and being what they're into, and also with what the company has put in front of them so much. First of all, they're probably not going to be inclined to like John Stewart. Many of them are probably going to prefer Hal Jordan and probably going to prefer Hawkman. And what's in it? What is there in this interracial relationship that's going to, you know, cause some kind of reaction in their brain to where they perk up, it gets their attention, and they're captivated by it? From their point of view, it's like Hot Girl is being cuckolded by Hawkman with this black guy, and they don't even like that black guy that much anyway, because they're probably more into Hal Jordan, because, you know, because of demographics, but also just the material you've been putting in front of them. DC Comics for like 70, how 50 something years, however long it's been. And there's just not a whole lot for them that's probably going that they're probably going to like gravitate toward. I would say probably the exception is the people who watch Justice League, the cartoon show, and John Stewart with Hot Girl is just what they know, what they expect, and what they like. But a lot of these comic readers are not those people. A lot of these comic readers are these comic readers, and those people who watch the cartoon show, would all of them convert? Of course not. But I think a lot of those people who love those characters, who would have converted to your comics, they've been, you know, pushed out. Like there's nothing there for them. There's nothing there for them. The stuff that they would like it's not there's nothing there for them. That's not the demographic DC Comics has been putting out content for. And I think that's fine. Like they have the audience. Well, no, I don't think that's I think that's fine in some senses, but not in other senses. It's fine in the sense if that's just what you want to do and that's who you want to talk to. Not fine in the sense that, hey, that's the only people you're talking to and they're not enough and nobody else wants to read your stuff anymore. Something is wrong. If you keep doubling down on just those people that love, you know, this type of the type of stuff with Hal Jordan and Jeff Johns and Hawkman and all that stuff, you're going to yield the result that you've yielded, I think. And that's that audience likes that, but there's really nothing there for anybody else. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. But um look, if you're trying to like reach other people, which I think DC Comics tries to, then I think there's something, it's not fine. You're not reaching those people. Not only are you not reaching those people, I think you've actively alienated them with policies like no John Stewart, or put him in the background. Certainly no John Stewart and no Hawkgirl. It's like, okay, um, those people are gone, and this is going to be like, I'm probably going to be accused of a person who champions a lot of these so-called woke comics, but I'm not. To me, it's not necessarily about woke, it's about common sense. But I do think DC and Marvel has a problem reaching other people. And if you want to reach other people, you gotta do something different. Like, so if there are those fans I mentioned of Green Lantern the animated series that liked Aya and Razor, nothing for them in these comics. Um, those fans that like Jon Stewart and Hawkgirl, nothing for them. And I'm not saying you got to convert everything from cartoons into comics, but you got to realize something important. Those cartoons and stuff, that's one of your big main advertisements, if not your main one. Just this other media in general, we can say, is like probably the main way that your characters are being put out there. What freaking sense does it make for your comics to be in conflict with that? And I understand you can't convert everything over, nor should you, because a lot of stuff gets put out. But when something is actually a hit, when it lands with audiences, when people love that and they want to see more of that, what are you doing telling those people that they're wrong? And the fans don't, there's like no obligation for these fans to do anything, because they're just being fans, like liking what they like, buying what they like. But those fans too, that's why your hobby is going down the crapper. Largely a big reason is because when some of these people come to like your stuff, some of you fans, we'll call them the more traditional DC and Marvel fans of these superhero stuff, they come along, bitch them out sometimes, or at least like take massive craps on what the people actually like. So then these like potential new fans don't want anything to do with that. It's basically they're alienated every which way. They don't want to engage with the fandom because the fandom's on a completely different page. Not only is the fandom telling them somehow they're wrong and the stuff they like is wrong, the actual comics are telling them they're wrong and the stuff they like is wrong. So what ends up happening? The people just don't engage. They stop engaging. I've probably stuck with like these superhero comics more than most people who are in that situation would. Why? I think because well, actually, one of the reasons is I do really like superheroes. I really do like the comics medium. That much I did learn from like reading comics, but I think what I ultimately walked away with, and I'm not complaining about this, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this, but it was a realization. Whatever all those people are doing over there, I don't know. They were on a different page. They like what they like, and I'm on a completely different page and wanting to see completely other stuff, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with. But I just found, or I got the sense that that stuff's not for me. Again, not complaining about that. That's fine. What I will say is that what I will um, compliment these comics on is that, oh wow, this actually looks like something I would like. Oh, no surprise, these other comics fans absolutely hate it. Because that's one of the things that like I kind of realized like I'm on a completely different page than them. Then that's perfectly fine. Like I've been around a lot of people who like stuff that I probably wouldn't like read, but they like it a lot. But what I will um, tell DC Comics and Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton, I think you're doing a really good thing by like incorporating elements from popular cartoon shows, like the most loved elements of those things into the comics so that fans of those popular cartoon shows actually have content that will draw them into being comic book readers. Um, I think that's a smart thing. And again, I would like to say that I understand you can't convert over everything, nor should you, but you should, at the very least, convert over the stuff that's like most loved. You can expect a lot more content like this from me. My Zatswan comic is for sale on Amazon right now, so please, if you're interested, purchase it there. You can get the ebook, and the paperback is coming real soon. To help promote the comic, I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this. So look forward to those too, and if this is the type of content that you like, be sure to subscribe, and again, check out my comic, and I will see all of you again very soon. Take care.